Christian Miller.
It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are ready for another show. Plenty of football talk we'll dive into today, man. We're one day closer to spring ball. Chase kicks off on the 8th, man. So technically that's, I guess, like 3 days and some change away. Looking forward to that. Really excited. And we've got some updates that we got to get into. Now, we won't have Coach DeBoer on the show this week. We had to push that back just a little bit. But he did have the opportunity to sit down and speak, I think, with at least maybe two. I know I saw On 3 or Bama Online, but then also 24/7 Sports. I want to say those are two different things, but looks like he sat down with two of those sites and services and basically gave the latest on a number of things. So we're going to dive into all those updates, talk a little bit about last season, some of the issues that occurred last season, but also looking forward, looking ahead to spring ball, the team that he has right now, a lot of new faces, a lot of new coaches. He touched on a number of things. The format for A-Day, he gave a little bit of a, I don't know if I'd call it a hint, but kind of an idea on maybe what to expect from that, which sounds similar to what we were probably thinking when we talked about it a couple weeks ago. So we're going to dive into all those things. Plenty to talk about. Looking forward to doing just that. We'll do it with you guys for sure, but also with Brandon Clear at 11:30, former Clemson wide receiver who joins us every Thursday. We'll talk with him, get his thoughts on everything. Got to get his thoughts on the combine. We haven't talked to him since it all concluded. So we'll do that, but definitely talk about spring ball, some of these position battles, some of the things that he's looking forward to seeing or hearing from Alabama's spring ball. And we'll also talk with our official representation here on the Miller's Edge, Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law. We'll get his thoughts on everything going on as well. And we had a little bit of an NIL conversation yesterday, kind of crept back in. So always want to use him for those reasons that he's an expert on all that stuff. So we always want to pick his brain when we can. I know we had a couple questions regarding some of those, ideas regarding NIL. So maybe we'll ask Adam his thoughts on some of those concerns going on. That said, that's kind of what we got scheduled as of now, Chase, unless anything breaking or, I guess, big coming out. I know there's some NFL news that has been brewing up a little bit. NFL offseason, teams trying to get their I guess, salary caps and everything, ready for the offseason. There's going to be, we already know the draft is here, but there's going to be a lot of movement. Teams going ahead and, releasing guys or planning to release them, trying to cut some cap space. So there's always that we can hit on a little bit. I know there's been a couple Alabama guys, I should say, in the NFL that have been affected. Most recently, I want to say Jonathan Allen. I think he was informed that he will be released coming up here at the start of the new season, new year league. I think that's what they call it. All these different terms, man, I get all over the place. But that said, we'll keep up to date with that. And I also know, Chase, you had mentioned it yesterday, and I forgot to hit on it, but there has been some trades going on in the first round. And I want to say it was Los Angeles. So a lot of people were kind of wondering what that could signal, because we've been talking a lot about Ty Simpson and where he could potentially end up at. A lot of people like Los Angeles as a good landing spot for Ty, but it appears that they have actually, in fact, traded one of their first round picks, or their only first round. I can't remember who has one or two and all that. Anyway, so kind of curious how that could affect a guy like Ty Simpson. Could affect him, might not have anything to do with it. Who knows? We'll have to see, but we'll definitely monitor some of that stuff as it comes along. Per usual, I got to remind you about our friends over at R&R Cigars. If you guys are in the market for those premium cigars, best in the business, you look no further than a place like R&R Cigars. Use that code Miller's Edge. Get yourself 20% off. You can't beat it. Just go to that website, rnrcigars.com. Punch that code in. Miller's Edge. Just Miller's Edge. You'll get yourself 20% off. And if your order qualifies, you'll get free shipping. I know we got people all over the country that listen to the show, so make sure you guys take advantage of that code. And if you're around here, make sure you guys take advantage of the spot, man. It's the hangout spot, the Mansion, 2703 Gary Fitz Street. You can't miss it. Big white mansion on the corner. They got that humidor, but not only that, they've got over 160 bourbons for you to try as well. Just make sure you guys drink responsibly. Great weather, man. Weather's heating up. It feels great. Plenty of sports going on. You got March Madness coming up, baseball and softball seasons going on as well. So great time to go hang out at the mansion. Make sure you guys do that. Again, that is R&R Cigars, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. Chase, we got plenty to dive into from the sit down with head coach Kalen DeBoer. He sat down with our guy Charlie Potter of Bama Online. He covered a number of things, but I want to start here because a lot of people have had a lot of questions regarding A-Day. Now, we saw it change up a little bit last season. There were some concerns about whether it was, I don't know, I guess poaching of players, transfer portal. Some of those, I guess, concerns have been alleviated just a little bit with the, I guess now just the one portal during the spring. There's no longer a second portal post-spring practice, which is a great sign, which I think probably should relieve some of that pressure off some of these coaches who are trying to retain their roster. However, we've heard some rumblings of maybe there being a shadow portal, a ghost portal, guys basically making their own portal, basically just transferring even though there is no portal. Sounds like they're cutting back on that maybe. I don't know. I mean, the NCAA is already talking about some measures that they might take just to prevent that from happening. That said, it sounds like coaches are kind of moving back towards the original format. Coach DeBoer in his sit down had mentioned A-Day or was asked about it. And he gave some thoughts, Chase. And I think it should be pretty positive if you're an Alabama fan that is, I guess, yearning for that original format. This is what he had to say when he was asked about A-Day and kind of what fans can expect regarding the format. He said, I feel like we're in a good spot where I expect it to be some scrimmaging, probably like we did the first year we want to. So I don't think that necessarily guarantees that it's going to be the exact original format. Now, remember, when he says the first year, he's talking about his first year. The way they did it was a little bit different. The way we always did it was we had two separate teams that we separated. I want to say it was like one offense, two defense, and then two offense and one defense. If I just butchered that, I'm sorry. And then we split up. Then you had basically like a real game format. Teams are going back and forth. I mean, there were special teams, all that good stuff. I want to say with Coach DeBoer, the way they did it was definitely a scrimmage-like format, similar to a game-like format, but a little bit different in that regard. So that said, it sounds like they're trying to go back to what he did his first year. And if you guys enjoyed that, it sounds like that should be pretty similar of a deal. He went on to say it would have been something where all of a sudden we would have had to stop scrimmaging if one guy got hurt and not just tight end. He explained because you want to get something out of every practice. So that's why we went down that route more so than the portal. So according to head coach Kalen DeBoer, the reason that they changed the format last year, in fact, wasn't because of, concerns of poaching or the transfer portal or anything like that. But in fact, they didn't have enough bodies, in his opinion, to go out there and have a big scrimmage like atmosphere for A-Day, which I think makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there was some influence from the whole portal thing, but regardless, that was that. Now is the here and now, and it sounds like the format should be back to a scrimmage-like format, which I think everybody really loves and appreciates because it makes you feel like you get one final football game before you put football back on the shelf for the summer as they go back to their summer conditioning program, gearing up for fall camp. And the next time folks will get to see Alabama take the field in Bryant-Denny Stadium will be all the way in September. That said, Chase, I'll give you the floor, man. I'll let you offer your thoughts first. Are you pleased with that? Do you think that's enough if they do? In fact, now he didn't necessarily guarantee it. It sounds like they want to iron some things out, but if they go back to even what we saw maybe like the first year under Kalen DeBoer, where it was definitely very scrimmage heavy, I think the format was slightly different than what we had done in the past, but very similar. Do you think that's good enough? Now, he didn't mention anything about, it being televised. I want to say the first year they did it here with him, with the new staff, I want to say it was still televised at that time. There was no mention of that. I don't know if that portion's coming back, which in my opinion is a big portion as well, because you have Alabama fans all over the country, all over the world, I should say. I mean, there's a lot of people in the armed services that are big Alabama fans that keep up. I know we have a lot that listen to our show. So that said, it's kind of unfortunate if it's not televised because they still don't have access to seeing it unless maybe, I don't know. Again, I keep throwing all these ideas out for Yay Alabama, man. I'm telling you, they need to sponsor this damn show at this point. I'll give them one more bone. Maybe you have some type of deal where you yourself, if it's not going to be televised via ESPN, but you say, all right, if you're a Yay Alabama subscriber at some level, we'll televise it ourselves or we'll stream it. That way people have access to seeing the scrimmage without necessarily seeing it on ESPN or attending it in person. Now, again, Aaron Suttles, I am going to send you an invoice if you end up doing that, just so you know, if you don't lock in a partnership deal with us for this season. Chase, tell me what you think about that, man. What do you think about A-Day going back to form?
They have to. It's at a point where you need all Alabama fans locked in and really encouraged about where this program is going, especially for this upcoming season. I think it being televised, man, it really does bring that home feel for someone that can't attend it, especially with how much tickets are, flying in Alabama, hotels. So a lot of people can't do that. So I think if you can televise that, that'll be such a game changer. And how much excitement there was when it was televised. It was like a Super Bowl, I would say, type of atmosphere. When I watched it,
sure,
yeah. So I think with your idea, and definitely they definitely get you on that for sure, because I think that would change the game. But if it can get it back to something like that of old, you definitely want to get everybody involved, not just the newer generation, but the older generation that feels like college football is just changing. They just don't feel comfortable around it. So you want everybody to enjoy it, everybody to just be as one. But any way for Greg Byrne, Caleb DeBoer, just anything that they can do to really raise money for their program, but also center around families and people that can't afford tickets, people that can't go to these events like a lot of other people can. So we can get everybody involved, But yeah, I think if they can get it back to what it was under Caleb DeBoer's first year, even when Nick Saban was here, I'm telling you, it will change the vibe really quickly in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and there's always, plenty of opportunities in terms of NIL or Alabama when it comes to spring games and all that, because at least the way Alabama's always done it, it's always felt very much like a game-like atmosphere around the stadium, that kind of deal. I'm not saying the game itself. I mean, it kind of, mimicked one to an extent, but I'm just saying in terms of people flowing in from out of town, going to watch. I mean, I think not street vendors, but you get what I'm saying, like people on the street, maybe selling merchandise and stuff like that. It always kind of had that vibe to it. But I wanted to pull this up to make sure we were using AI, man. Everybody uses AI nowadays. It's really quick. I wanted to make sure it was still televised his first year. And in fact, it was. So it was televised in 2024. And Caleb DeBoer's first year, last year, was the first year in almost, I guess, 2 decades that it wasn't televised. So will we see a return of that piece of it? I don't know. I did not see that in the article. More so just him explaining, I guess. I don't know, unless I didn't read all the way through it. But yeah, basically him explaining the reasons why they changed it up. But I don't know. Let me ask you this, Chase. I mean, he mentioned it only really being because of the injuries. Now, a lot of other schools did it because of the portal. He said that wasn't the case. Do you think it really was only because of injuries, or do you think that the portal factored into it a little bit as well?
I think the injuries is kind of like a media trained. Yeah. I think that was kind of like, that's not, I don't believe that, but I think you want to keep face, right? You don't want to give the same answer everybody else's, because it's pretty blatant. I feel like they didn't do it because of the transfer portal and how things are rolling nowadays. But I feel like injuries or maybe a different format for them feels like that's a comfortable answer to go with. But come on, sure. we can read beneath the sheets.
Hey, we're not saying he's fibbing here, but I mean, I'm just thinking, I'm like, they were able to scrimmage. I mean, I went to the second scrimmage for sure. I can't remember if I went to the first one. Yeah, I think I did. And anyway, I know they scrimmaged twice, so I'm like, well, they had enough guys to scrimmage when it was closed off. So I don't know. That might have been a little bit of a politician's answer, but regardless, doesn't matter. I just was curious your thoughts, because I kind of was reading that thing and then I'm like, only the injuries? I don't know. But anyway, good news is, sounds like we might be back to a true scrimmage-like format. So I just think the next question should be, will it be televised, man? You see, I'm always looking out for our listeners and all the other Alabama fans that might not have the luxury just seeing it, right? Because I know a lot of people, they hated that part. It was more so, not even if they probably could have watched last year's format, I don't think there was, unless maybe they did find a way to stream it, but I think the only way you could have is if people were posting clips or anything. I guess chat, help me out, was if you guys didn't attend, were y'all able to see videos? How did you guys even keep up with A-Day? I'm curious. That said, let's hit a break real quick to stay on schedule. When we come back, we'll break down some more of what Caleb DeBoer has said in his 2 sit-downs that he's done recently, basically updating things. He talked about the running game. We'd love to get his thoughts on that, because, again, trust me, when he comes on our show now, we're going to talk football. So I'm glad they got this out the way, where they asked him a lot of the logistic stuff. But when he comes on here, we're talking ball. So he gave an answer about the running game. We're going to dive into a little bit deeper and more. But we'll talk about what he said so far when we come back. Plus, we got Brandon Clear at 11:30. Our guy Adam at the top of the hour. And we always invite you guys in on the conversation. 205-342-9904 is the number to the program. Quick timeout. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's a crime to pay more than one.
What's up, guys? Who we got in the chat so far? We got Alex in the chat. What's up, Alex? Jake, what's up? Got coach today. I thought that was tomorrow. Yeah, no. So coach, we'll get coach on the show, like actually on our show. And I think they said either like second week of spring ball, something like that. He was initially supposed to come on this week. They ran into some stuff. We pushed it back. But I think they're trying to operate in good faith, man. They told me they're going to do right and give me somebody else. They're supposed to be trying to line up a player interview that I think you guys would love. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if he really enjoys talking with the media, but I think we can help pull some out of him. Plus, I think it'd be a great pairing. Trying to give you guys some hints, man. We've got a similar background. Man, that's probably not a great hint. I don't want to similar. I once did some stuff that he's doing right now. Maybe that's a good way to put it without making it too easy. Anyway, but yeah, we'll definitely make that happen. But I think it's going to be in like a couple weeks. I think he just kind of got tied up with a number of stuff. I guess they might have had some of this already planned. Who knows? Even though I did hit them up a minute ago, but it's all good, man. It's all good. We'll rock and roll. But they wanted me to come by there, so I don't know if he wanted me to speak to the team. I don't know if he wants me to. I don't know if he just wants to talk. I don't know, but we'll see. But he said he wanted me to come by there, so I don't know. Mario, what's up? Yeah, it's been a minute, man. What's up? Kenji, what's up? Yeah, one more day to the weekend. I'm counting down too, man. Counting down too. Dwight, what's going on? Mike, my guy, what's up? Courtney Miller, what's up? Is that family of mine or something that I don't know about? We got another Miller in here. Courtney Miller, what's up? C Mill? If it is, I apologize. I don't recognize the name off first glance, but welcome in. QD, what's up? Willie Cole, what's up? Good job, C. Keep up the good work. Wait, Courtney Miller, hold on. Are we related or something? Who is Courtney Miller? Let's see. Jake says we need the winners to get steak and the losers to get the beanie weenies. Did they do that last? I think they still were keeping that tradition. I don't know 100% though. I think they had offense versus defense. Defense got points. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah, because with us, it was like we legit split into two teams. One offense and two defense were on a team. One defense and two offense. Excuse me. And sorry, guys. Sorry. Change of seasons, man. Change of seasons. Let me get that fixed before we come back. All right. Sorry. I'm trying to get my throat clear before we come back.
0.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And welcome back into this Thursday. Sorry. Edition of the Miller's Edge. Sorry, I'm like over here trying to clear my throat, and I feel like I just made it worse. And okay, there you go. So we're good for now. My throat is a little, I don't know, man. It's that time of year, changing the seasons. Like Gray was saying, when you talk a lot, it happens. Sorry, man. You know what I think I need to do, Chase? I need to because I always keep water, man. You always keep water here, but I need like a hot drink. I think I need to keep like hot tea ready to roll when we start, because it's always the beginning. Once I get rolling, I'm good, man. But goodness gracious, yeah, Tuscaloosa weather is crazy, man. And then, and I don't know if we've had a whole bunch of pollen just yet, but I know it's on its way. and that always throws me off too. So I don't know. We're not gonna make excuses though. We're rocking and rolling. We got Brandon clear in a few minutes, so we'll make sure we get to that on time. We got plenty to dive into with Coach DeBoer. So I want to take a segue real quick because we only got a few minutes anyway. Chase, there's something that came out, and I'm curious what you guys think. Hey, real quick, have that your blank button or whatever it's called ready, because I'm not gonna lie, I think some of it's censored and some of it's not. But I want to play a quick clip. Now, me and Chase, everybody knows at this point, if you listen to this show, we're big wrestling fans. Our guy Smitty and others, we got some wrestling listeners on here too. Well, anyway, Logan Paul, which you might be familiar with him outside of wrestling. He does wrestle full time now with WWE, but social media sensation. He's boxed Floyd Mayweather. He's done a lot of stuff. Him and his brother Jake Paul, who also boxes, does the whole thing, fighting UFC fighters. Well, anyway, Logan has a podcast, and basically a couple of weeks ago, him and Tom Brady had a little bit of a back and forth. And I think Tom Brady was sitting down with them, and he kind of called wrestling cute. A lot of people that aren't really big into wrestling, they always go, oh, it's scripted, so it's fake. But if you keep up with wrestling, you understand, like, hey, man, they got to take bumps. I mean, they're falling through tables. Like, while it is scripted and they're not necessarily, throwing true right hooks and really trying to knock each other out cold, I mean, there's a lot of injuries. I mean, it takes a lot of athleticism. I mean, the ones that really watch it, you can appreciate what those wrestlers do. So Logan took offense to that, and basically it stemmed from his whole back and forth with Tom Brady, and he basically was saying, look, man, I guarantee you football players couldn't really do what we do. We're much better athletes. Tom Brady wasn't hearing that. That is kind of crazy to tell, like, the greatest quarterback of all time. Even though if you're talking about, pound for pound best athlete, I would argue that Logan and some of those wrestlers are much better athletes than a guy like Tom Brady. If you're just talking about, from an athletic perspective, I mean, Tom Brady's whole deal is he was like one of the worst athletes coming out of college, then ended up being one of the best quarterbacks. But if you're talking about just being, the best at what you do, and then you're talking about football as a sport and what is required to play the game of football at that level in the National Football League, I mean, I can speak on it. It is not easy. But me being a wrestling fan, I'll be the first one to tell you, I respect their craft too. Totally different things here. That said, it got escalated even further, Chase. I don't know if you've seen this, but Logan, on his most recent podcast, after hearing Tom Brady continue some of the jawing and basically say Logan Paul is a dog, a female dog, Logan responded, and he basically issued a challenge to any NFL player that if they could beat him in a fight, which I think he's referring to boxing here, not WWE or UFC, he's talking about boxing, that he would put up a $1 million wager. So this is what he had to say stemming from that whole Tom Brady thing. And then we'll talk about kind of our thoughts on how this could play out.
Be surprised if I throw hands with Tom Brady on the field in LA. Dude, Tom Brady does not want to throw hands. There's a clip of him out there, of him calling me a bitch.
Have the skills he's a football?
To Gronk of all people, who I beat up all of his brothers back to back. The Gronks lined up, and I beat them up back to back to back. And guess who didn't step in there? Mr. Gronk himself. And yeah, they're calling me a bitch.
Don't do this.
I do think it's cute. If any of the football players want to fight, we can see what happens.
What football players would straight up beat his ass?
Not a single one.
Name one.
Not a single one.
Don't do all that, bro.
I would put any amount of money that you could put.
DK. Metcalf?
Not a single football player could beat me in a boxing match.
Myles Garrett.
That is on God.
Myles Garrett?
I would throttle Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett. I will bet you why did we choose him? It could be any name, but any football player. Myles Garrett, Puka Nacua, Tom Brady, Gronk. I don't even know.
Don't even try calling out Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
No, don't do it, bro.
Doesn't matter. $1 million. $1 million. You come to the gym, we put on boxing gloves, we see how it goes.
All right, so I'm gonna stop it there because hopefully, Chase, you were able to hit that dumb button a couple of times. I apologize, but clearly Logan Paul is very confident. And I'll just say this, man: boxing is a whole different craft, and there's a lot of people, a lot of guys that think, yeah, they might have gotten in some fights in their day. They might be a big, strong dude, and they just assume that they can step in a boxing ring and go beat somebody up. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't necessarily train boxing. I train a little bit on a heavy bag, but I'll just say this, man. From what I know, boxing is a whole different ball game, And sometimes when you hear it initially, when he's talking about Myles Garrett and some of these other guys he's just throwing out, you're like, man, there's no way Logan could beat those guys. But boxing really is a true sport, a true craft that has its own, I mean, the conditioning is different, being able to take hits. You know what I'm saying, Chase? Like, I mean, it's a whole different world in which he has experience in. Like, right? So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the whole $1 million challenge thing is crazy. Now, there's been a lot of NFL players trying to throw their name in the hat. I think they're just trying to get a quick payday, right? Because think about it, hell. But now the only difference is I think he's changing now a little bit, so it's more of a bet. Initially, it sounded like he was saying, I'll give you $1 million if you can beat me. Now it sounds more like, hey, it's a $1 million bet. So if you are going to step up, you better have $1 million to put on the line as well, which to Logan Paul, who just sold a Pokemon card that he bought for $5 million for over $17 million, I think he'll be okay putting a $1 million wager on the line. Some of these NFL guys, I think you guys think everybody in the NFL is these, big time millionaires. Not everybody's like that. That said, Chase, he said Myles Garrett, he made it seem like he said, I'll throttle him. Myles Garrett is not only big, but he is one of the best athletes I've ever seen. I mean, if you guys have seen him dunk, jump in the gym. I mean, he just like, this dude is a crazy athlete, and he is like built like Thanos, right? Even more athletic though. You think Logan Paul could handle Myles Garrett? Now we're talking about boxing, not wrestling. We're talking about boxing, Chase. What are your thoughts as we hit this break, man?
Man, that's crazy. That is insane work for Logan to say that. Now his brother couldn't handle Anthony Joshua, and I would say there's the same kind of like build in a sense. So if you get Myles Garrett some technique, you can train him a little bit. That's a different spectacle right there. Now I respect Logan. He has great marketable skills, promotion, learned it from WWE, and he can back it up in a WWE ring, and that's very hard to do. But to translate that into boxing and say he can beat any NFL player is nonsense. I think it's ludicrous. It's just more. I just feel like it's like you said, it's different when you're in the ring in boxing. It doesn't take just one knockout or I can just beat you up. You gotta have stamina. You gotta have technique. You gotta know when to step back. You gotta know time. Do I put too much energy in one round and the other round? Like it's more technical than wrestling, in my opinion. So that's why I'm like, so I just feel like that's a lot to say, beating up like a specimen like Myles Garrett.
But see, for all the reasons you just named, that's why I think Logan Paul would win. Probably like 90% of the matches or boxing matches that he had against any NFL guy, because Logan has a background in boxing. I mean, Logan went, granted, we're talking about Floyd Mayweather, like at 48 years old, however old he was. Logan's definitely way out of his, outside of his weight class. Like, I understand all that, but still, to step in the ring with Floyd and hold your own, like Logan has a background in boxing, and it started with the whole, brand risk stuff they were doing. I think that's Aiden Ross's thing, but whatever it was, right? They were doing like the social media people boxing, and he was boxing KSI, and he wasn't necessarily great when he was doing that. But what I'm getting at is he's been training like to box for years now at this point. These NFL guys, they might do some off-season boxing for fun, but they're not nearly as trained like he is. And that's why I'll be honest with you. Now, Myles Garrett is just so big that maybe, I don't know, if we're talking about just scoring points and stuff, Logan's going to win because Logan actually knows how to box. These guys don't. And what happens is guys that don't know how to box, you mentioned like the stamina, they get in there, they're swinging crazy. What do? They tire themselves out. So I don't know. I feel like he's trying to set these people up, man. Just like his brother. Listen, I respect Jake Paul and what he does, but he sets these UFC fighters up because they're big, bad dudes, and they're so used to just going and beating up on dudes. But boxing is a whole different sport. And my thing is, if Jake Paul can outbox these UFC fighters, I know they're two totally different things, but it's still combat sport, right? I just don't see these NFL guys really standing a chance against someone who is trained to box. And Logan's not small either. Logan's like 6'2". And with him training with WWE now, he's probably like 230. I mean, he's not a small guy. He's about the size of an NFL linebacker with boxing experience. So I don't know, man. Here's what you guys think. We got to hit a timeout. We got Brandon Clear. We're going over a little bit. I apologize, Brandon. But when we come back, we'll be joined by him. We'll circle back to some Alabama football talk. I just saw that yesterday, and I thought it was crazy, man. A lot of people have been talking about it. So curious what you guys think. But when we come back, we got Brandon Clear. We'll talk some Alabama football right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
At Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa, luxury may be close.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that? Travelpreneur, what's up? You guys think Logan's talking crazy, or do you think he might be right? I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think he's right for about probably 90% of the NFL guys out there, man, that just don't actually train to box, man. It's a whole different deal. QD says, I haven't watched wrestling since the 90s with NWA and WCW. That was a good period, though, wasn't it? That was when you had, man, some of the legends, man. Yeah, calling out Miles, well, I mean, that was probably the worst one. I mean, DK, I'll be honest, DK's a bigger dude, too. And DK loves to box on the field. I mean, he fights all the time with his helmet on and stuff. DK's tall. He would have reach. That Anthony Joshua fight, I'm not gonna lie, man. Jake was he was getting on my nerves in that fight. And I don't blame him. I mean, he was trying to survive because, I mean, Anthony Joshua was a true heavyweight. And when he finally did connect, I mean, Jake had to have literally jaw surgery, man. His jaw was broken. Jake says you put all your money on Myles Garrett. Oh man. I don't know, man. Just boxing is just different, man. If they were going, here's the thing. If points mattered, and if it was something where basically if Logan could win like off of like if it went to decision or something like that, I would not bet on Myles Garrett. You know what I mean? If they're just going to box and just run a fade kind of deal, maybe. But a lot of football players train in boxing for football or for footwork. Yeah, they do, but and I know what you're talking about, Mario, but I think it's a little bit different than like actually training for like a true bout in boxing, man. But you're right. There are some guys that do have a little bit of experience. True boxer like Tyson in his prime. I don't see anyone beating him, but Logan ain't gonna whoop just Miles. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he would just whoop Miles at all. I just think he would technically, like from a technical standpoint, I think he would end up probably winning unless Miles really knocked him out. But Miles isn't going to score more points, or you know what I'm saying? Because now if you gave Myles Garrett like 6 months to train, say Miles wasn't playing football and he'd had like 6 months to train, like legit for a true boxing match, that's a little bit different story. But if you're saying, hey, give him some gloves and we'll set it up for a couple weekends out, I don't know how much faith I have in that. When the Pauls fight, the boxers, they ain't gonna win. That's why they call these random people. Yeah, true. I mean, the only real boxer that Jake fought, he lost to, well, now two, right? Anthony Joshua, which, you know, former heavyweight champion. That I think that makes perfect sense. But Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's brother, who was an actual boxer, wasn't like some big time boxer, but he was a true trained boxer. And that's my point. You get what I'm saying? That's why Jake was able to. Jake's knocking Tyson Woodley out and other former UFC guys. Is it Nick or Nate Diaz, whichever one? But then when he fought a real technical boxer, it's a different story. That's my whole thing, man. Boxing's just a different beast than even just, you know, street fight and run the fade. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Almost got my days mixed up right there, man. We're going to go to the phone lines now, jump back into this Alabama football conversation as we are just a few short days out from spring ball. We got our guy Brandon Clear on the line. Brandon, man, I appreciate you being patient, man. Sorry about that. We got caught up in this this Logan Paul nonsense that's going on. He basically, I don't know if you heard it, but he called out any NFL player to a boxing match. He said, if you guys can beat me, anybody, $1 million wager, $1 million on the line, man. You taking that, Brandon? You think you could do it? You think you could go win $1 million against Logan Paul?
So funny thing, man, I've been boxing for the past 4 years, and I can tell you right now, there's not a football player. Yeah, there's not a football player that could beat Logan Paul. I'll just be honest with you. Jake Paul, Logan Paul, because they fight, they box, right? So boxing is a sweet science because I don't care how much stamina you have. I don't care how powerful you think you are. You can't get in the ring with someone that's had pro bouts and survive. It's just it's not going to happen. You got to understand range. You got to understand, the footwork is different. You'll notice a lot of football players lumber around. And again, I can tell within like maybe 2 to 3 minutes if a guy could even survive a round, let alone just looking at pad work and seeing how much weight they're putting on the front foot. So it sounds easy. It sounds, easy win for these guys. You say, like, look, Myles Garrett is a freak. Unless he's been boxing for years that we don't know about. I think Max Crosby's the only one that has maybe some experience because he's been getting in there with MMA guys. But even them, they have a difference on how they land punches and how they set punches. So Max may be able to just survive because he's naturally bigger, and he might be able to do certain things that other just football players that might just do it for general, calisthenics and movement. They might be able to get in there and move around a little bit, but there's not a chance. If they fight Logan or Jake, they're gonna lose. 10 out of 10, I guarantee it.
And that was my whole thing. Because now you've been boxing 4 years. I got a heavy bag at the house. I like to hit it and stuff, but I just know, even just from what I know, hell, I mean, I know that Deontay Wilder a little bit, and Deion Nichols that is out here in Tuscaloosa, but like you said, it's a whole different beast, man. You got to train a certain way, and I've seen so many guys. Even I watch a lot of boxing, and I've seen even like now they do these events where they have celebrities box. Man, everybody thinks they're big and bad, and they can throw down until you get in a boxing ring, and it's a totally different, like you said, it's a totally different sport. There's an art to it, and if you don't have that experience or that training, man, yeah, you're gonna get in some deep water with some sharks, man, and be in some trouble. But circling to some football, man. We're a few days out from spring ball. I know there's a lot of excitement. You got the quarterback battle going on, a whole bunch of position battles, a lot of new faces, Brandon. As we sit here about, I think, 3 days away or so, man, what are your thoughts on Alabama heading into spring, man? What are some of the storylines that you're most excited about to keep up with, or what do you want to see? Just tell me a few things that you really just got on your mind as we head into spring ball.
Yeah, so I really want to see this offensive line. I think there's a lot of talent there. Clem coming in, what new mentality is he going to bring into the fold? How is he going to coach these guys up to make sure that they have the technique in order to be successful at pulling? And, that also ties into the tight ends as well. I think that the tight end coach hire is going to be an underrated pull-in because I think, again, he has background in being a tight end because he has done it. He played at the college level. I think he even had a chance at the pro level, but again, he's been in and been very successful at that, but there has to be a concerted effort that all parties involved with that run game, they've got to be locked in. I want to see what these running backs look like. I know, look, Daniel Hill, he's going to most likely be RB1 on day one just because he's been there. He's got the experience. He started a few games. I think he's limited in some of his capabilities just because of his size. You would assume that a guy that size would almost be like an Eddie Lacy or someone that has power. I don't see that when he runs. And so the fact that it takes him so long to, just even get to the line of scrimmage, let alone burst through a hole, that's where he's a little bit different. And to me, personally, I think he's more of a fullback. And I think he's going to be a goal line demon. You put him in there on the goal line, but I want to see what these younger guys can do. I want to see what A.K. Deere looks like, with a year under his belt and how comfortable he feels in setting pass protections and doing all those things that, a lot of young quarterbacks, they need that running back game to be top notch. And so Isaiah Correll is going to be coming in. Again, I don't rely on young backs to be impactful as running backs. There's very few far between that have done it. Adrian Peterson is the last one that came to mind that was just dominant from day one. A lot of the other running backs, it takes time to be able to get adjusted to the speed of the game, but more importantly, not being a liability on passing down. So if you can't block, I don't see how you can play. And that's just, simple. If a linebacker's blitzing up the hole and you're over here peeking on the outside and you miss a block and the quarterback's getting killed, you're not going to play. And, a lot of folks were trying to figure out what happened with Young last year. That was one of the reasons. I went back and watched some of the Florida State game, Wisconsin game. Like his blocking was just atrocious. And again, I think he's a talented guy. Kudos to him for going out to Colorado looking for a new opportunity. But just the blocking and the lack of, wanting to be physical, even, Hill struggled with that. And so I just want to see how these guys turn it around and just start really getting their nose in and not just focusing on trying to set up success in the run game, but it's like, y'all got to block. So I'm curious to see how that's going to look moving forward. There were some very stout defenses we went up against, so I don't put all the blame on the struggles on the O-line on just lack of, execution. I think it's also a testament to the talent pool they were going against. But something's got to change, and I think that, what KDB did this offseason is showing that they're really driven on getting this run game going and really try to have some success with these running backs and O-line.
Yeah, and he detailed a lot of that in this sit-down with Charlie. He talked about the running game and how it needs to be better. He acknowledged that, 125th out of 136 teams, it's not gonna cut it. And he said, I think it's a lot of things across the board. I think really what it comes down to is you got to execute. Execution is a lot of different things. Execution is communication, doing your job. Offensive line-wise is so much trust that guys have to have in each other. That will be very much the challenge again here with a lot of new faces on the offensive line. So he's acknowledging, that was an issue last season, and they expect that. That's why we've talked about on this show. I mean, there's going to be some growing pains. I mean, you can't just sit there and say, oh, man, we got a new coach, you got a whole bunch of new guys, and automatically when you have so many new faces, you think from the jump it's just going to be perfect. There's going to be some growing pains, and he's acknowledging that. But at the end of the day, he knows that it has to be better. He went on to say, unfortunately, we weren't able to really find that continuity and gel, and that falls with the running backs too, being able to be confident in the schemes and trusting their reads and those types of things too. So it's us just continue to go back to work, dialing in on what we feel we can do best, which we've been talking about, that I said, even just simplifying things and really leaning into what you do well. So he acknowledged that part. I feel like we were doing that last year, but we got to do an even better job of it this year. You mentioned Daniel Hill, and allegedly people are saying he's slimmed down some. They said he's kind of working around that 230 range right now. I know we've always kind of bragged about him being like, 240, 245, and I agree with you. To be that big, he doesn't necessarily run that way. And I'm just curious your thoughts. You think him at 230, do you think that since he likes to run more like a 225 type back anyway, that will serve him well? Do you think, you mentioned him maybe being more of a fullback, do you think he could be a true back if he slims down and in fact goes into the season around 230?
Because if I'm being real, man, there's certain God-given abilities we all have. You know what I mean? Myself, man, I was explosive. You look at all my measurables, I could jump out the gym, I could broad jump out the gym. That initial 10-yard burst, man, I could get out for such a tall guy, and my measurables showed that. Daniel Hill can lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds. He doesn't have those quick twitch muscles to have short area quickness. And it's not a slight against him, right? Like, I'm not saying he's not going to be a decent player. There's just certain things when I watch, certain running backs, you can just see the burst, and he just doesn't have it. You can't conjure up something you don't have. Now, does that mean he can't be an effective back? No, right? Like, he can be an effective back, but you're not going to be running like some of those other running backs that can be patient going to the line of scrimmage. Like, if you watch the Super Bowl, that running back was patient because he had an explosive first step. He could get off, he could set up the blocks, and all of a sudden he's shooting through the hole. Daniel Hill can't conjure up something that's not there. So I wish him the best on losing that weight, because I think that will help him be faster. But is he going to be a guy that's going to break for a 60, 80-yard run, or if he's going to be a guy that's shaking people out their boots? That's not his game. That's not what he's about. And he's a great pass catcher out the backfield, so that's one other quality he has. A lot of running backs just don't have natural hands. He does. So I give him that. And he can be a weapon, but in my mind, I view him as a red zone weapon or a short yardage weapon in some instances. But I just don't think he runs behind his pads as often as he should for somebody his size. I think that he plays as though he is a 220 running back, but you don't have the fast twitch muscles of a smaller running back, so you do not need to be running your game like that. I just need you to hit the hole as fast as possible. I don't need you to – don't worry about setting up anything, because that's just not your game. Now, if you look at A.K. Deere, if you look at Isaiah Crowell, there might be some opportunities for them to be able to start doing that, because they just have that short area quickness, and they have balance. And they have the ability to hit a hole. They can take the home run, 50, 60 yards like A.K. Deere did last year. Daniel Hill doesn't have that in his repertoire, and that's not a slight against him, but it is going to be a running back committee. I think Daniel Hill's going to be first up, but he's got to be careful, man. Like, he's not blocking the way he should. If he's not improving in the area, why would I go with somebody that's blocking below average, and then I could just bring a young guy in, and he could do just the same, and maybe I bring in 12 personnel to protect them off the edges. And I'm saying, hey, you're going to focus on this gap, quarterback and shift protections, protect them, maybe do some rollouts, do different things to kind of just change the pocket. That can protect the running back if he's not great at doing pass pro. So that's my mindset. I think that Daniel's going to get the first go at it. I'm hopeful that he is going to have a great year. Him losing weight, I think he got hurt in the offseason, so that impacted some of the things he was doing. But you got to call a spade, man. Like you looked at the NFL Combine. There's some guys that be talking, I run a 4.5 or 4.4. They get out, they run a 4.8. And you be like, bro, you always been 4.8. I'm gonna go back and do my pro day at the school, and I'm gonna run faster. I'm like, you can do all you want. You get a great hand time. That laser and what I'm seeing on the film is matching with what you got on your measurables. Like that's what we see. Right. So, that tone can change very quickly whenever you see a guy and you're just trying to figure out exactly what he is. It's what do I see on tape? I see Daniel Hill. I see a slower mover than that typical running back. And then if he ran a 40 right now, I would not put it past it that he's probably not running faster than a 4.6, right? So that's not a slight against him. That 4.6 is not slow. Everybody says it is. It's not slow. It's just not as fast as some of the other running backs. When you saw the speeds of the running backs in all the positions this year, they all were the fastest in the history of the combine. So if guys are getting faster and your game is not predicated on speed, you better be the most technically sound. You better be the most in shape. And you better be the toughest SOB that's walking the planet. If you're not those three things, then why are you playing? I don't need you to play. I'll play another dude that has, abilities or capabilities. He might drop the ball left or right sometimes, but guess what? If he catches it, it's going to the house. I'll take that over anybody that just is of average across the board. I'm like, if you're going to be average, I might as well find somebody that can maybe give us a spark. And if they get, enough chances, they might start turning the corner and there might be consistency. So that's just my mindset as a player and a coach. Like I was like, hey, we're not judging pigs, right? So it's not fair. Life's not fair. I need to have the show. I need to have the show pony. So who's up? Who's looking pretty? Oh, great, you got it. So who's consistent? Oh, got it. Now competition's all set. All things are equal. Who's going to give me the best chance to win? And then that's where the coaches make those decisions. So look, Daniel better get it in order, man. He got some young guys chomping at his feet that will, if they get in there, he may not see the field again. So just keeping it real. I think he's going to crush the spring. He better. That summer camp comes and that first game comes. If he don't get over 100 yards, I'm like, bro, you're not going to play. So let's see how he performs.
Brandon's got a lot of high expectations for our guy Daniel Hill, man. We're joined by former Clemson wide receiver Brandon Clear. Joins us every Thursday. Coach DeBoer spoke on him and the others as well. He said the guys that are coming in, they're young and guys that are growing, excited for them. There were times when Daniel and Kevin, Riley that is, had their moments, and them to be healthier here for the spring, I think that's critical, especially for Daniel. It was really kind of the first time I've seen him completely healthy or as healthy as I've ever seen him, I guess. So it sounds like, and he was dealing with some injury stuff last year for sure. So it sounds like he's healthier, and I don't know how accurate that is. I can't remember who mentioned that or, him losing weight, but I will say this. I hear what you're saying about the explosiveness, and I do agree. But I'm curious to see how he does look healthier and shedding some weight. You're right. You don't just magically just lose weight and become explosive like some guys that naturally have that. I agree with you, but I think it would serve him well, and I think he could, benefit from that. I know when you look at a guy that's 245, you feel like he's more of a Justin Fowler, but I think if he gets down to 230 and is healthy, maybe he kind of resembles a guy similar to Brian Robinson, right? I would say Brian ran a little bit similar to kind of what you're describing, not necessarily the most explosive guy or the most quick twitch back you've seen, but he ran hard. He was probably Brian I think was like 6'1", 6'2"-ish, maybe 225, 230-ish. And I think he could be similar maybe if he does get into really good shape. But we'll have to see. That's a bunch of coulda, woulda, shouldas. We'll have to see. Brandon, I want to ask you your thoughts on this, man. We talked yesterday as a former receiver yourself, man. Ryan Williams, there's a lot of questions regarding him and can he get back to that Ryan Williams that we know he can be, that he's capable of being. We saw that freshman campaign. I mean, he was electric. He was special. He looked like he was going to be the next great wide receiver, not this year, but in college football, had a little bit of a sophomore slump. He dealt with those drops. Do you feel that going into year 3, him now being the quote-unquote vet in that room, he's one of the oldest guys in that wide receiver room, do you think that he can find a way to get back on track now that he's elevated in a position? Because I talked about this yesterday, and I don't know if you've experienced this as well, being a former player. But for me, my first couple seasons when I was sitting here and I was sitting behind, 3-4 seniors and other guys in front of me, I was competing my tail off each and every day. but there's a little bit of a shift when those spots finally opened up. And I'm not saying Ryan's been sitting behind him and the spot opened up, but what I'm saying is now he's a true vet and he's basically the guy in that room. You got Latsy or Brooks, but outside of that, I mean, Rico Scott, Cedarian Morgan is just getting here. Noah Rodgers is transferring in. I mean, he's going to have a lot more on his plate and a lot more expected out of him now that he's the guy. When it got to me being a junior, and I knew, all right, those older guys that were in front of me, they're now gone. And now I'm competing to start. Like, I'm expected to step up. Like, it's my time. There was a shift for me. And I feel like it kind of brought me out of a spot when I don't know, I saw my game transform a little bit. Do you think that could be the case with him? Or do you think that maybe that has nothing to do with it and there's a chance you see similar stuff that we saw last year?
So for Ryan, it's a real simple motto this year. No fear. No fear in expectations, no fear in if he's messing up, no fear in catching the ball. Everything should just be, I'm coming in, I'm the most talented guy on the field, and it's just mental for him. That's all it is. Look, Julio, his sophomore year was not good, and people will say he was marred by injuries, but I don't forget he was dropping a lot of passes too, right? I mean, his hand, those thumbs were taped up pretty tight. I do remember that. But he was dropping a lot of passes, and there were concerns that, hey, he has all the measurables, he can do all this, but he drops way too many passes. And you see from his freshman to sophomore year, there was a big dip. Ryan had something similar. He gets in at Florida State. He's playing a new position. He was in the slot because they wanted to try to get, some guys on the field. That's not where he feels the most comfortable. He's okay being in there occasionally, but if you play him solely in the slot, he doesn't have the feel for it, and he doesn't feel comfortable. He doesn't not feel good going across the middle, seeing linebackers, reading coverages, going in, running dig routes because he just has concerns. And so he feels more comfortable being outside and maybe X or Z. So, coaches didn't necessarily set him up for success in my book. I know with Germ being there and Horton being out there, like those are bigger guys and they're limited even in their abilities to be in the slot. So it almost naturally had to be Ryan had to sacrifice a part of his game to be able to be in there and be a threat. So don't get it twisted. You don't think that I went back and watched some of the tape. They were still double teaming him. All the drops he had, he was still the only one getting double teamed. So if he catches the ball, he's a freak of nature. He's one of those guys, like, I don't care if he's dropping 10 balls. That one he does catch, it can break the game open. And so he just needs to get back to the fundamentals. He needs to get back to just being confident. And in high school, he was a body catcher too. So, again, these are things he's caught the ball with his hands before, but he also primarily feels more comfortable with being a body catcher. And I think we talked about this last time. Some guys just like body catching. And I think that you set yourself up and limit your ability to really do things because if you don't catch it on that first go, you're dropping the ball. If it gets in your body or your chest, you're dropping it. So for him, again, it won't all be on him. I think that you got some younger guys who are going to be stepping up. I think that you're going to see, a maybe 1A, 1B type of situation. And he'll be able to go out there and really make some plays. But it's on the coaches to give him easy touches at first. So I want to see screens, reverses, different things to just get the ball in his hands so he can feel comfortable and confident. Pretty similar how they did the Georgia game, that second game. They just got him some quick wins. Hey, here's a reverse. Here's a quick out. Here's the ball. And he just made some moves, and now you got confidence going. But then everybody will go back to the deep ball that he dropped. It is just all I see is his hand placement is awkward. And so those are fixable traits, right? He doesn't have terrible hands, but he doesn't have consistent hands because his concentration level, he's so used to just catching it and going with his body because he wants to make the first man miss. Instead of saying, I'm going to catch the ball and whatever happens after that, great, but I just need to catch the ball. So, again, going back to fundamentals, I want to see him on the jug machine this offseason, talking about, really focusing on catching almost 1,000 balls a day if possible. And just building that confidence back up. So you get in front of the jug machines, you get out there with some of these young quarterbacks, run routes, catching the ball, you'll see Ryan Williams. I have him pegged as the superstar that he is. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year, and he'll be a top 10 pick. And that's got to be something that I'm expecting of him. I'm hoping he does it. He's capable of it. That freshman year was not a flash in the pan. There's too much ability there for that to just be a fluke. His sophomore year, he had certain times where he showed it, but it wasn't consistent. But I think that may have been related to injuries. The injuries started tapping in on him, and his consistency dropped. So just be on the lookout. I think Ryan Williams is going to have a great year. I think Lottie Brooks is going to have a breakout year. That guy, man, you want to talk about a dog. Lottie Brooks to me, man, that's Waddle Jr. So just be patient. Know that this team's got some young talent coming in. Darian Morgan is going to be there. But just patient. Allow Ryan to fall into the fray and just know that he's going to make an impact.
Yeah, I agree. I'm expecting big things out of him this year, man. And I think what I was looking for is sometimes when you have guys like Jeremy Bernard or Horton right there, you can be a little comfortable at times if you are kind of going through something because you got other guys to rely on. But now the attention's turning even more so to you. So you got to get out that comfort zone. I think that could help push him back into that player that we know he once was and still can be. Brandon, I appreciate you joining us, man. Big shout out to you. Always join us every Thursday. We appreciate getting your insight. Look forward to doing it next week. We'll hopefully be talking some updates. Spring ball does kick off in a few days, so we'll do that then, brother. Be easy till then.
Absolutely, brother. Roll Tide, Miller's Edge family.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Roll Tide, good deal. Big shout out to our guy, Brandon Clear, who joins us on Thursdays. Always does a great job. We got to hit this top hour break. When we come back, we'll keep talking Alabama football. We'll be joined by our guy, Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law. We'll keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we transform driveways and parking lots with expert repairs, new paving, Adam, or resurfacing. Fast, durable, family-owned.
Good,
man.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, sir. We got you loud and clear, man. Good deal. All right.
Awesome.
It has to be my dad's thing, man. Nobody else has a problem when they joined on here except him. So I think it's his system, man. I think I've proved it. I think I've proved it finally, man. It's his system. No one else
might be. Well, I appreciate you having me on. It's a great show, as always.
Oh, thank you. Of course, man. I appreciate you jumping on.
Sure.
I enjoy having somebody to run stuff off of, man. My dad's like a hit or miss, man. He's on one day, the next minute I don't know where he's at, man. He's like, "Where's Waldo?" sometimes. So, Brock says, "Wait, he played at Clemson, but he's a Bama fan." He's from Birmingham. I'm talking about Brandon, who we just were talking to. Yeah, so he's from Birmingham. He went to Hoover, and he was on the show. What was the show where they covered Hoover? I don't know if you've ever seen that, Adam, but
I don't know.
Training Days or something like that. It was when they covered it's like Jeremy Pruitt, I think, was on there. I think Chapman might have been on there as well.
I think I may have seen a few of those.
Yeah, it was back in the day when they were running that series, like covering Hoover. I think they're just dominating that high school football or something like that. But anyway, yeah, Brandon went on to play at Clemson, but he's a Bama guy. I mean, he grew up in Birmingham, has always been an Alabama fan. But
in one of those training day videos, there was a clip with apparently there was a bad practice, so Saban made everybody run 1040s, and I was thinking, oh my gosh. That must be hell.
Well, funny enough, that was just part of our conditioning routine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when he made us run them, so sometimes we would do 40, sometimes we would do what we called, what was the name of it? But basically, it was like you would do like 10 10s, 8 20s, like 640s. I can't remember what, or like stuff like that. Like that was part of the conditioning. Like, so basically there was like easier conditioning that we would do after practice. And then like the harder ones would be the 1040s. We would do that. And typically we were supposed to do that like after every Monday or Tuesday practice. But, as the season would progress, he would start, kind of cutting us a break, and he'd throw us a bone. If we had a good practice, he would say, hey, finish out right. We'll only do progressions. That's what they're called, progressions, whereas basically you're just running 10 10s, 8 20s, and sometimes he just cut it off, like you do a couple 40s after that and you're done.
Right.
And so it was probably one of the days we were probably supposed to do progressions, but he wasn't pleased with the practice, so he said, to hell with it, y'all are running 40. So yeah, that was one of our conditioning methods after practice. And then later in the season, we'd also do something called condition by position, where we would just go with our position group and do drills. And our coaches would try to look out for us because they know we're just dog tired, like just got done doing 11 on 11.
Oh, man.
We would kind of just, not go through the motion, of course, but that was a little bit easier one. But yeah, it was interesting, man. We had a couple different little conditioning things we did after practice, but
sounds brutal.
Yeah. Well, the worst is when we had to do. No, I'll tell you what the worst was. After a scrimmage, we would get done scrimmaging for, 2.5 hours total, because you do Indy, you do 7-on-7, you do everything leading up to the scrimmage. Then you scrimmage for over an hour and a half. And it's, Tuscaloosa, when you're scrimmaging, it's hot as hell in that stadium. I mean,
Oh my God,
awful.
yeah.
We would have to do those 40s after a scrimmage. Like that was non-negotiable. After practice, they would sometimes, we would do progressions or something. After a scrimmage, it was always 40s. And he was so he made sure those 40s after a scrimmage, if you didn't run it right, he would say it didn't count. He was really locked in on that. I'm like, dude, be like that after maybe a practice. I'm like, after a scrimmage, there'd be times I feel like I'm like, Adam, I don't even know how I'm going to just do the next rep. I would just blank. It just felt like I was just going through the motion.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was that was tough. That was tough, but he got to a point where he would always say, if you practice right, we don't have to do this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you try to get us to practice hard. We're still going to condition, man. There's a couple times he threw us a bone. He just called up. It would normally be on a Wednesday or Thursday. Kind of, we've done a couple practices already. He's, being a little lenient.
He would have loved me and my 14-inch vertical jump.
No, listen, I'll say this, Adam, man. The vert is fine. You can't jump. But best believe, man, you got to make sure you're running through that line, because if you didn't, man, he would call it back and restart. And I'm not gonna lie, you'd have to face your teammates at that point. We had a couple guys that made us restart a couple times, and as you can imagine, when it's one guy that's causing you to have to run more, it doesn't really sit well with a lot of folks, man.
Those poor offensive linemen. I don't know how they did it.
It was always them. Always them. Yep. Always them. Yeah, I don't think there's ever time a skill guy, maybe a mid-skill, which is bigs, which is offensive line and defensive line. Mid-skill was linebackers, tight ends, quarterbacks, and then skill was running backs, receivers, DBs. But, yeah, those guys were always good. I mean, they used to be showing off during that. But the linemen, dear God bless them, granted, they were for 110s, their time was I think they got 18 seconds. Mid-skill got 16. I think skill got 14 or something like that. So, yeah, man, those were the days, man. God awful in the moment, but when you look back on it, it's man, that's why we were so close as a team, man. We about died together every day at practice.
In that heat, oh my God, you guys are unbelievable. That is serious elite athleticism.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa heat, man. It's no joke. It's like running in an oven, man. All right, everyone, bring us back.
All right, sounds good.
And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're talking Alabama football. We're quickly approaching spring ball, about 3 days out or so, according to my calculations. I mean, at least by the date. I'm trying to think. 3 days, though. Adam, let me do this math real quick. Yeah, Friday would be the 6th, Saturday's maybe it's the 9th, or do they start on a Sunday? I don't know. Anyway, we're a few days out from spring ball. We are joined now, hour number 2, by our guy, Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. Adam, man, how's everything going, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. Looking forward to talking some Bama football.
Always, man. Always a pleasure getting you on here. Yeah, we've been to fill you in on what we've talked about so far. So we've had Brandon Clear on here. We talked a little bit about just expectations or some things we're looking forward to with spring ball kicking off here in a few days. Then Coach DeBoer sat down with a couple of these sites, and he's kind of detailed a number of things. He talked about the running game, some things that they need to improve on, get better at going into spring, some of the new coaches, and he's basically updated us on a whole number of things. So we've been covering some of those, and we're going to keep kind of rolling through there. But I'll throw you the floor real quick, man. Just get your thoughts as we approach spring ball. Any major storylines that you're looking forward to? Anything that's really, I guess, calling your attention as we quickly approach next week?
Yeah, the thing I'm looking forward to or looking at most is the culture and the identity of this team.
It's a good one.
Because one thing I saw last year was there were a few games where I thought our defense was dominant, was fast, was physical. But I noticed in the game against Georgia in the SEC championship and against Indiana, it was the first time I saw Alabama really get out physical. And that's, having watched Bama football for almost 4 decades, that was something I wasn't used to. And so I know we have a lot of talent. There's no question. I know Kalen DeBoer is a great coach and certainly a great person. There's no question in my mind about that. But my question is he the right fit for the Alabama program in establishing the kind of identity that's going to match the Bama standard? And what I'm looking for is hopefully to see more physicality on both sides of the ball, especially on the defensive and offensive lines, and us to be able to run the ball with consistency. I mean, I remember Derrick Henry, and then one of my favorite backs was TJ Yeldon. I mean, they just ran over you and made your ass quit, as Nick Coach, excuse my language, as Coach Saban. I didn't see that as much with this team. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. They certainly are talented. They did a great job going to the quarterfinals, no doubt about that. But I want to see the old Alabama come back. And I know DeBoer is a great coach who has a great scheme. But the question I have is he the coach that's the right fit that's going to be able to do that?
Let me ask you this, because I think that's a question that a number of fans kind of have asked over the last couple of years, just seeing some of the performances, some of the losses, we should say, right? Just like you mentioned, maybe the Indiana, Georgia, and the SEC championship game. I think that's a fair question to ask. But let me ask this, Adam. If Alabama were to, and I think I know the answer, right? Winning cures everything. But if they say they go on and they win a national championship, but they do it in a way that it is a little bit different, it's not necessarily that dominant running game that we've gotten accustomed to seeing in here in Tuscaloosa. It's not necessarily the same just feel like you had described. Say it's a little bit more of that pass heavy, what we call a little bit of a West Coast style, but it wins a championship. Or say we'll even start with the SEC championship. We'll start there because, winning the national championship is a big deal. It's not easy. Say it wins an SEC championship. Do you think that would settle your concerns? Say you still see some of those glimpses of, man, we don't look the most physical. We're a little bit more of a finesse team now, but we're scoring a lot of points. We're forcing turnovers, and we're ultimately finding ways to win. I'm genuinely curious. Like, would that be enough? Would that move the needle enough for you where you would finally say, you know what, it looks different, but we're winning? Or are you still kind of among the group that's like, no, it has to look a certain way because it is Alabama. This is our brand. It doesn't matter.
If it looks different and we're winning, I'm perfectly fine with that. And that's why, I have an open mind to Coach DeBoer bringing in his system and doing things his way. But my concern is that way is not going to win us an SEC or national title, because when I look at the past national champions, why did Indiana win the national championship? They were physical and they were extremely disciplined. Why did Michigan win the national championship? Again, really physical defense. It wasn't, their offenses weren't that complicated, but they just kind of lined up and they beat you. And I think that formula, despite all the evolution of college football, when it comes down to it, the team that wins is a team that beats you in the trenches. So, yeah, if a different style works, I'm on board with it, of course. I'm just not sure it will.
Yeah, no, and I hear exactly what you're saying, because I agree 100% with you. I mean, even if you look at the runner-up, in Miami, right? I mean, there's a reason that the teams that you see late in this thing typically are those teams that are physical, dominant on the line of scrimmage, right? Both sides of the trenches, they play very, very solid. Typically, they're very balanced. They're able to run the football, but they're explosive enough to put up points. I mean, so you're right. I'm in agreement. I do feel like that's the recipe. But I'm just curious, because there are a lot of people that also feel kind of how you're describing, Adam. And I just have always been a believer that winning cures all. But I'm just curious if that would be enough still, because I know there's some people. You have an open mind, but others just like, no. I mean, Alabama, we run the football. We dominate up front, and I'm just like, well, I don't know. The game has changed a little bit, but you're right. You still can lean back into it, and I'm not saying that's what they want to do, because I mean, you hear him talk about their running game and how he wants his team to be. I think they want things to be a certain way, but the more that I've kind of just really gotten to the more I look at this team and Coach DeBoer's teams, whether it's a scheme and just kind of how they operate, even just talking with Landon, who we had on the show Monday, it is evident that it's probably never quite going to look like that running game. Like when you mentioned Derrick Henry, right? When we had Lane Kiffin in 2015, and even though Lane Kiffin was a guy that definitely stretched the field with the passing game, there was no doubt that we relied heavily on Derrick Henry out of the backfield and running the football. I mean, to the fact that I think he like set a record against Auburn. I mean, we're talking about like 40 carries a game this guy was getting. Like, he was a workhorse.
Yeah.
Don't think you see that, right? And you don't see a ton of it anymore anyways, but I just think with this scheme, that's not really what they do. However, he's even acknowledged it has to be better. And I think even if you took last year's offense, but you had some type of running game to it, even if it wasn't Miami's running game or even Indiana's, who was like 200 plus yards a game, I think if it was serviceable to the point where you're 150 or so a game, and you can at least, and here's what a big one, it's not even so much that it has to be dictating things, and I'm referring to the running game, but you know, if you're a pass heavy team and when teams are giving you looks where you're playing Georgia in the SEC championship game and you're getting 3 high looks, like 3 safeties back deep with a box that literally is light as can be, you have to be able to run the football. And I think Coach DeBoer acknowledged that especially even in moments like that, like when teams are inviting you to run the ball and you still can't run it, that's clearly an issue. So, I mean, it might not necessarily look like it did in 2015, but I think there definitely will be some improvements. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. And spring will tell us a lot. But you're right. But it starts with what you said first and foremost, and I love that. The culture, right? The philosophy. Is there going to be a dominant standard that's being set this spring? Because that's where it always starts. I tell people all the time, it starts in the winter workouts, right? When you're going through fourth quarter program in the weight room, kind of just setting the tone. But when you get out of spring ball, man, that's when everybody's trying to establish themselves. Leaders are starting to step up. You're trying to kind of who fits where, who's going to fill what role. And you kind of start getting that sense. So hopefully you're right. They do start establishing that. And I think there could be some of that strictly because you have so many new people. Everybody's vying for a spot. There's going to be nothing but competition across the board, really on both sides of the line of scrimmage. London Simmons, he's not practicing this spring. He's going to be out. I don't know the latest on Jeremiah Beaman. I know he's coming back from that injury. Maybe he's a little limited. So what I'm getting at is there's going to be a lot of opportunities on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Hopefully you have a bunch of guys just going to battle, man, and compete. And I hope, from what it sounds like, Coach Clem and some of these new coaches will help set the tone as well. I think that can be really important. Kind of giving this group, like, I guess that starter, right, to kind of really, you know, because I think those guys set the tone of their position rooms, then it kind of, you know, extends further throughout the rest of the team. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. And that's a really good answer to start off with that. And we got to hit this timeout to stay on schedule. When we come back, we'll keep talking. We got plenty more to discuss. Kalen DeBoer sat down and talked about a number of things. We'll keep diving into that. But we're looking forward to this spring and more right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
It's the grand reopening of the all-new.
Read some of these chat messages real quick. Adam, there's an NIL question that I was trying to think of yesterday. I know somebody asked something about NIL yesterday. Then when I was thinking, I was like, man, should I ask?
Is it about
Adam
the draft, coming back from the draft or something?
That did come up. But what was that? There was something specific. I was like, I need to ask Adam that. I'm trying to think of what it was. I should have wrote it down. I'm like, I know we've covered a number of these things, but that was an interesting one. But there was a question that I was going to ask you on how they could go about that. I can't even, if it comes to me, I'll think on it.
Go ahead.
I
think I remember you talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, because somebody initially asked about, now that there's revenue sharing, can they not cut back on, I guess, like the regular NIL portion? I was just saying, like, you can't really do that because for the genuine NIL, that's the whole point of it. But the whole, I guess, like pay for play piece, that does need to be nipped. But I don't know how you. I think it was maybe about like the states, because I know Mississippi, they just passed a law where the NIL earnings from student athletes is, I guess, it's not subject to being taxed anymore. Which is a clear advantage. I think it was maybe a question surrounding that. I can't remember, but and I think Alabama mentioned that at one point. I feel like a year or two ago we discussed that on the show, that they were maybe looking at doing something like that, because other places have started to do that, where it's like, hey, we'll pass a bill or a law that states that student athletes don't have to pay taxes on their NIL earnings. And that's a pretty big advantage, because if you're talking about I mean, it's no different than, you're talking about state income tax, right? If you can go to Ole Miss and they're offering you $1 million deal, and let's just say you were expecting to pay 30% on that. I mean, your net is 700,000, or excuse me, well, it would be 700,000 elsewhere, but if you go to Ole Miss, that's an extra $300,000 in your
That's
pocket.
huge.
That is huge. Yeah, that's a big. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But man, yeah, it's crazy.
I think it's
like going backwards.
Yeah, that's what I think too. It's just, I mean, these collectives should be banned. It is not what NIL was the courts envisioned NIL to be, and it's just you're giving Bryce Underwood $10 million to do what? You're giving him $10 million to come to Michigan and play football. How is this? I mean,
nothing he's doing is worth $10 million. I'm not saying like as a player. I'm saying like in terms of the NIL front. There's nothing that you could ask him, in my opinion, unless he's doing a social media post 3 times a day and he's doing a signing like every other day. I mean, I'm sure you could probably add that up to about $10 million. But
that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't. Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't know why nobody has to answer to that. I don't understand that. Why can they not apply something?
The NCAA is just terrible, and they're so too slow to react to things. Let me apply for a job at the NCAA. I'm going to issue some orders immediately.
Please. Fix it, Adam. And Adam we trust, man. And Adam we trust. QD says, I think DeBoer has realized he has to change his philosophy, some offensively, since being in the SEC. Expect a more physical team this year. Yeah, he mentioned that too. I think he said something about he has to keep adapting, or I forgot what word he used, but it was like adapting or evolving. But all right, let me bring us back. We'll read a piece off this article. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're joined by our guy, Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law, Education and Advocacy. He joins us every Thursday now. And it's really nice, man. Now, anytime we have any question regarding any type of NIL, any type of legal question, we got our guy, man. And you guys have really been enjoying Adam jumping on here and adding that piece to the show. So we definitely appreciate you doing that, Adam. For all our listeners that are curious how they can get you involved in anything that they need, you can always check out Lamparello Law, Education, and Advocacy, again, founded by our guy, Adam, who's joining us now. He works with high school, college, and graduate students on academic and career success, whether that's mentoring, exam and test taking preparation, subject matter mastery, application strategy, personal statements, resumes, and so much more. And also on the legal representation side, students, faculty, and athletes with academic misconduct matters, First Amendment cases, name, image, and likeness issues, or, of course, all criminal defense matters. Make sure you guys check them out, because they will represent you with care, passion, and relentless advocacy. But not only that, the great prices, man, which, again, if you're like me, man, you're always trying to make sure that you can get the best deals possible. Adam is your guy for that representation. So make sure you guys hit him up, 201-317-5115, or visit their soon-to-be-launched website, lamparello-law.com, or just come here in the chat. Come hang out with us here, and then you can just ask them directly. You can get into contact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get with our guy Adam. You can do it that way. You can always talk to him here like we do every Thursday. Adam, we're talking spring ball, man. It starts next week. We talked a little bit about what you expect to see. You mentioned the culture. Great answer, man. Great answer. Matter of fact, I'd argue I think the coaches are probably along the same lines as you, right? This is their first opportunity to get a look at all these new faces that they have, see everybody come together, how they fit, who are the leaders going to be. So that's a really good answer. I want to continue on with the article that came out with Coach DeBoer sitting down with Bama Online. He talked about, as a team, kind of what he's expecting. And he started off by saying every area just needs to improve, right? So, I mean, he's well aware that they're not necessarily where they want to be. Like he mentioned a couple months ago after the last game, they're not too far off, but they definitely got some work to do. He continues to say, as long as these guys stay hungry, they're going to see major strides between what they look like this first day when we step on the football field and what it looks like when we get closer to the beginning of the season. I'm excited because these guys are excited to be here. They're excited to be coached. They came to this culture, they came to this program and are buying into the culture that we have tried to build. And man, it's fun seeing these guys work. And that's what matters right now, is their energy and their attitude and the effort that they're putting forth. He goes on to say as well, in terms of this year, he says, just doing a better job of jumping on teams, getting faster starts as teams. There were times when we did a really good job, but some of those games down the road, we didn't do that as well. The playoff games, SEC championship game, we didn't come out of the gates as strong as we needed to. And that makes it hard when you're fighting an uphill battle. So he also did acknowledge some of the shortcomings from this past season. So it sounds like he understands. I mean, this is a big time year coming up. There's a lot of things that they need to approach a certain way, some changes that they need to make. And at one point, I can't remember, maybe it wasn't this article, but it's another, he kind of acknowledged that even if that requires him to adapt and change himself. Adam, so do you think that's something we see a little bit? I know QD also mentioned that in the chat. I mean, you mentioned the culture, part of that is on the players, 100%, sure. But it also is on the coaches. And like you mentioned, there's some things that you wonder could, maybe be shifted to make him a little bit better of a fit. How confident are you that maybe Coach DeBoer and his staff are able to make some of those changes that are necessary to make that team maybe a little bit better of a fit for what they need to do to accomplish their goals?
I'm confident that DeBoer, being one of the most outstanding coaches in the country, I am confident that he knows what the problems are and is going to address them. And I think his staff is on the same page. The question, though, is the players. And this is where I go back to something I think may have said before, which is what really matters here to winning championships is the intangibles. It doesn't matter if you run a 4.3 or you can bench 400 pounds. That matters, of course, but what matters is how do you practice when it's 100 degrees outside on a Thursday? How do you respond to failure when the coach screams at you? How do you respond when you turn the ball over? How do you respond when you don't want to do something, but you have to do it? And I think Jalen Milroe was a perfect example and a role model for young people. He would get there early and be the last one to leave. And regardless of what one thought of him as a quarterback, that type of approach is what makes great players and great people. So do these players have the intangibles? And it kind of reminds me of something that Nakai Hill-Green, who was a great player, said on an interview with, I think it was Bama Online, maybe, I forget. He said when they played Indiana, he could see why Indiana won the national championship. They had they had answers for us. That's not the kind of things I think that a Bama player during Coach Saban's era would have said. I think they would have said, we didn't execute, we got to do better, and taken more responsibility. So I think it's a matter of the intangibles and really taking accountability, and most importantly, self-assessing. You don't need the coach to tell you when you didn't perform up to the standard. If you're the type of player that knows that and is going to be a great example for everyone around you to hold yourself accountable, those I think are the ingredients that makes a great team.
No, 100%, man. We talk about it all the time, but the accountability we had, I use example all the time, but when you got it where a backup can tell a guy like Ruben, like, hey, man, run off the field, just finish, you know what I mean? Like, finish on that rep, like that's the accountability. When your accountability is that high, when your standard is that high, it's inevitable. You're going to have a really good football team with a lot of guys that are trustworthy. You can depend on them. And that was my thing. I always knew when I did get opportunities, like my sophomore year, and I had guys like Ruben and Jonathan Allen, I'm playing next to those guys. Number one, I knew sure as hell, they're going to do their job. There's no doubt in my mind. Those guys are doing their job. And now it's up to me, being a younger guy, when I do get in there, I better do my job because I owe it to him, all those guys that work their tail off every day. And I never wanted to be the guy that, hey, when I get in there, I'm a liability. I always had that in the back of my head. Like, of course I want to prove it to myself, but I need to hold myself accountable for those guys next to me. So you're right. Those are all the little details that end up mattering. And it go a long way, man. They really do. I think sometimes it's lost in today's society. There's a lot of, I'm not saying our guys, but I feel like this generation, there's a lot of, a little bit more selfishness. NIL kind of naturally breeds that. It's not as much we, it's more I, unfortunately. So when you can find a team that can do that, can kind of go against the grain, which you talk about Indiana. I'm not super in tune with what they've got going, but in my opinion, it kind of felt like they shared some of those qualities. I mean, my teammate from high school is their running backs coach, and I was trying to get him on the show. I know he had to get it cleared, but I'm curious to ask him, and maybe I can just text him and ask him that. Like, how was that factor for them? Like, their accountability factor. Like, what was their team like? What was the culture of their football team? Outside looking in, it sounds like what you're describing. So you're right. Getting back to that would be great. And I listen, I'll say this. I mean, we came a long way. Even like looking at the defense last season, I feel like early on, that definitely concerned me. After that Florida State game, I was lost on kind of what I was seeing. But then as the season went on, I feel like those guys started stepping up. They got a lot better, and they started playing much better. It looked like they were, a lot more accountable guys, playing a lot more to a standard, and hopefully they can piggyback off of that. Problem is you're replacing like a whole new front seven, which that don't necessarily make me feel great. But secondary-wise, I would argue we probably got one of the top secondaries in the country. And when you got guys like Bray Hubbard, who I think can be a great leader, that's the other thing, Adam. I'm trying to figure out. That's one thing I want to see. Who are going to be the leaders that step up?
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are normally a leader on your team where you got a quarterback battle that's going on actively. Offensive lineman, center normally is a guy you can normally, depend on. Everybody's new on the offensive line except the returning true freshman in Will Sanders, who's also going to be out this spring. Ryan Williams is like the the oldest guy in the receiver room now, which is crazy.
Wow.
And defensively, it's like, your Mike Backer, he's a guy you rely on, gone. So who are going to be those leaders stepping up? That's a pretty big question that I have. That I don't know. Any guys you have in mind that you think would step up and make good leaders? Because last year, I want to say Deontay's gone. I know sometimes we've had, guys that were voted leaders early, but last year I want to say everybody moved on. Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson, Ty Simpson, and who was the last one? Was it Parker Brailsford maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so. Yeah. So who are your guesses on that right now? Any guesses?
That's a great question. I'm really not sure. And that kind of highlights, a lot of the uncertainties going forward. Maybe Bray Hubbard, but again, I don't know, but I think whoever is the leader, it's going to be so critical to build that kind of team with the discipline, the execution, and the intangibles. Because last year, earlier in the season, we go to Athens and we beat Georgia in a night game in their stadium.
First loss for them at home in like 2 in some years or something like that.
Yeah, and we were dominant, and then we lose at home against Oklahoma, and it's like the issue wasn't talent. The issue, I think, was those intangibles that sometimes, led to turnovers or a lack of execution. And so you can be the best team in the country, and when you fall short, I think it comes down to the very little things that when you add them up together become very big.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100% with you. All right, let's do this, Adam. Let's take a break to stay on schedule. When we come back, we'll keep on diving into this. There's a couple other questions I want to ask you, and one of those being, year 3 is normally a big year, especially for a new coach. And I think they asked Coach DeBoer about that, kind of his thoughts going into year 3. So we'll talk about that and get your thoughts on it, kind of where your head's at with Coach DeBoer going into year 3 and kind of what you feel like, would be the expectations, right, for a coach going into their 3rd season. And we'll talk about that and more coming up right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. And I'll throw this out there while we got Adam. If you guys have any NIL-related type questions, man, throw them in the chat. Drop us an app message, and we can discuss it too. Well, we got our official representation here on the show, Mr. Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law, Education, and Advocacy. Quick timeout. We keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, I'm Richard Adams with Adams Service.
All right, let me see. Quite frankly, I think it's the guys that drive that. I cannot think of any head coach that does not want a tough physical football team. You need players that realize that vision through action. Yeah, but I'll say this, though. You got to have the right guys, too, though. And that requires the coaches to go get those guys. And then it also requires them to, you have to set the standard and the players have to uphold it. So The reason I say that is Coach Saban set the standard. but it was on us to uphold it. So it's a little bit of both is true, right? I mean, if you had to pick one or the other, I would say yes, the players upholding that is probably more important, but still, it always goes, to me, it goes back to the saying, you either coach it or you allow it.
Exactly. I remember there was like 12 years ago, there was like a 60 Minutes segment on Alabama football interviewing Coach Saban. There was a segment where one of the freshman players, I think his name was Eddie Jackson, he was a cornerback, just getting ripped by Coach Saban. But he came back and became a really strong player for the team. I hope we have those kinds of players.
Yeah.
Because they're all talented. We know that. I mean, they're all elite, but we'll see.
I hear you. Why I wanted to share Alabama. Wait. Oh, wait. Men's basketball? Jackson Richardson. Who is Jackson Richardson? Let's look him up. Jackson Richardson. Looks like Alabama got a basketball recruit.
How are they doing? Are they
They lost their last game to Georgia on the road. It's a little bit of a shocker.
Oh, yeah.
Some people, I guess, assume that they were kind of due for kind of a underwhelming type performance. I can't remember what people were saying, but no, they've been playing solid ever since the Bediako thing. They were on a hot streak, man. They hadn't lost a game until this past one against Georgia. Similar kind of deal with them though, just rebounding and defense. Defense can be a little bit of a hit or miss at times.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, backcourt wise, I mean, they got some of the best guard play, I think, probably in the country. But I think my biggest concern is when you get into that March Madness play and you're going against some of those well-built all-around teams, that have big men that, really attack the glass. I mean, if we're firing on all cylinders with our threes and our shooting is high, like we're always going to be a tough team to beat. But you're going to find there's going to be games where your shooting's just not there.
Right.
And when it's not there, that concerns me. And when you're in a situation like that where it's pretty much now or never, that could be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, it looks like this is thank you, Wyatt, for that. Let me see if I can throw it up here real quick. Whoops. Not that. Wait, let me take that off. That. Yeah, Jackson Richardson. Let me see if I can find some highlights real quick, man. I don't really keep up with basketball recruiting too much, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't. But I feel like we do recruit well. I think Nate Oates does a really good job.
He's great, yeah.
I like Coach Oates, man. I really do.
Me too. I've just never been a big basketball fan because I am the worst basketball player in the United States. I'm only good at baseball. Whoa.
Let me see who is who, because I wait, hold on. Wait. I think that's him. Well, I'm looking at the picture on the screen. Hold on, let me go back. Maybe this is better. I think we're about to come back real quick, but I wanted to see a quick highlight real quick, man.
Zaxby's just dropped dry rubs.
Oh, crap.
They're not playing.
I don't think I have enough time. I'll just let it play while we talk, though.
Spicy Nashville hot. Hey, other chicken chains. This is called seasoning.
Makes me want to get Zaxby's now, man. I see Zaxby's all the time growing up.
I love Zaxby's.
Do they have it up north, Adam?
I'm not up north right now. I'm in Georgia currently.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But do they, though? Do they have it up there?
No.
I was about to say, I thought it was definitely more of a...
Where I live, the only thing they have is Italian food.
I mean, not a bad option there either. Goodness. Wait. Oh, wait, that's Jason Richardson's son?
Really?
Oh, wait, that's cool. Wait, that's cool. All right, hold on, come back.
Ooh.
And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick little update. Thanks, Wyatt, for sharing this with us, man. Quick little basketball note. Alabama men's basketball just picked themselves up another top 25 overall recruit, this time coming from 6'6" small forward and McDonald's All-American Jackson Richardson. Now, Richardson is a very common last name, but in the basketball world, there's a couple guys that have that last name that have been really good players. One of those being Jason Richardson. And in fact, this is his son, which I grew up watching a bunch of Jason Richardson. You see where the athleticism comes from, man. Jason Richardson was a hell of a basketball player and definitely a hell of an athlete. His son is not far behind him, and he just committed to Alabama. Chase, Wyatt, if you guys are hooked up on the mic, man, you guys know anything or a little bit more about Jackson that you guys want to share?
Yeah, just real quick here. I mean, he's a top 25 overall recruit, like you said, 6'6", 205, small forward, which seems to be something that Nate Oates' system really thrives on. I mean, you think about when he's had his best teams, he had, Herb Jones at the 3/4 spot there. He had Brandon Miller at the 3 there. So getting a guy like a Jackson Richardson is really, really big for the Crimson Tide here in this recruiting class. He is the 3rd commitment for Alabama in this recruiting class. They're joining Quaden Samuels, another top 20 recruit, and then Terrace Bouye, a top 40 recruit. And Alabama's still hunting for some other guys. I know Caleb Holt's kind of in the mix as well, and he's another one that's a bit about that small forward size there. So really good addition, really strong addition for Alabama. And knowing kind of what it looks like with this roster, so many guys that are seniors, and obviously LeBaron Philon being a probable lottery pick, you're going to have to replace a lot of good talent from this year's roster. And Richardson could be a guy that I personally think could step in pretty early for Alabama.
Well, I mean, if you're just going off athleticism, hell yeah, he can. I mean, he definitely could win you a dunk contest if you needed that. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that gets me excited. I like, in college, I don't see as many guys that have that ability, I feel like, but I mean, this dude can jump out the gym. Is he a little bit of a shooter too, Wyatt? Do you know? Can he shoot the ball well?
I believe he can. I mean, you got to shoot the ball well nowadays at this point when you look at, college basketball here. His 3-point percentage is not the best, but Nate Oates does a really good job of that. I think he's about a 20% shooter from deep range there in high school, but I don't think he's been presented with the opportunity a ton to shoot the 3 in high school, not when you're that size. And so get with Nate Oates, get with Alabama's staff, work on that 3 ball. And if he can develop that 3 ball into even a 30% 3-point shooter, that's somebody that can be a very, very critical piece to next year's roster. I don't know if he'd be like a one and done or anything like that, but because we just don't know unless you're, an AJ DeBanza type player or a Brandon Miller type player. But if he develops, I mean, I see no reason talent wise why he couldn't be a one and done.
I'm just excited to see him go dunk in Coleman. I mean, listen, that does something for the atmosphere, man, when a dude really throws it down. And I feel like we've had definitely some dudes recently that have been a lot better. I feel like when I was in school, I don't really remember having anybody that really just like flashed like that. Recent years, we've had some better guys in that aspect. But yeah, no, I'm excited, man. That's dope, man. Jason Richardson's son committing to the University of Alabama. All right, real quick, let's jump back to football real quick. I know we got a few minutes here with Adam. Adam, we talked about year 3, with Kalen DeBoer. That's always a big year for coaches, right? Especially new coaches that are taking over a program, let alone taking over for the GOAT, Coach Saban. Seems like Coach DeBoer is, well aware of year 3 being a big year, and he understands that there's going to be some expectations. This is what he had to say. He says, every single year is critical. I thought getting off to a good start with building our culture in year 1 was important. We had to take the next steps in year 2. Probably a lot of people before you even start year 1 would say year 3 is important. And so I just look at it as they all are. Every day matters. So you just put your head down, you go to work, and you focus on what we're supposed to do. And that's giving everything we got every single day. I'm proud of the way the staff continues to adapt, adjust, communicate, work, really try to hone in on the things that can make a difference for us to take the next steps this season. The reason I also want to bring this up, Adam, is a lot of people, I mean, they've got Alabama right now, and depending on how you look at it, on one end, it's like, hey, they made the college football playoffs last year, got a win, made it to the SEC championship game. They're in a good spot. But a lot of people on the outside looking in, a lot of national pundits, they're concerned, right? They've made comments that they feel like this year could be a critical year for Coach DeBoer and staff. I mean, what are your thoughts, or what are your expectations for year 3 as we quickly approach spring ball? I mean, do you think this is somewhat of a make or break year, like some might say, or do you think it's definitely a little bit pressure there, but not so much like the outside world might make it seem?
I don't think it's a make or break year for him. He's an outstanding coach, and I think he deserves more time, 2 or 3 more years, because he came into a unique situation that most coaches will never face, and that was following Coach Saban. And that is a different animal than just taking over any other team, because Saban was the greatest coach of all time. So with that came unrealistic pressure and expectations. And I think he handled them very well. He had Saban's players when he started, and I think he did as good as any coach could have done under the pressure and the circumstances and the expectations following Saban. He had a great win over Georgia the first year, and the second year he took us to the playoffs. We won in Norman. So I saw progress the second year, and I also saw a coach that's very intelligent with scheme, and I thought that he really passed the test in my eyes, especially after the Oklahoma loss, going to Auburn, beating Auburn. So he's done some very good things under a situation that's unique. So you got to consider the context. What I think is going to happen this year, my expectation is we're going to go 9-3 and probably narrowly miss the playoffs. And that's okay with me, because I don't think you can just judge a coach based on the year. You have to look at the circumstances that they came in. What players do they have? Okay. And I think DeBoer is still in the process of building the identity that he wants. So is year 3 important? Yes. Is it make or break? No.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I think you hit the nail on the head. So I don't even have anything to add to that. I think you said it perfect. Last but not least, Adam, I got to ask you about the big one, the big question regarding this spring. That's the quarterback battle, man. I personally think it's going to go all the way out to fall camp. I don't see why they would try to narrow it down. I know some people are, of the belief that, hey, the quicker you get, you decide on who your quarterback is, the quicker you can, we talked about that culture, start working towards that. Guys can start rallying around one guy. Personally, while I understand that, I think you can still rally around both guys as they compete, and I don't think you should rush anything here. So I guess my question to you is, going into spring, man, who's your money on? If you were a bet man, Adam, granted, I don't think we get an answer coming out of spring, but we're about to kick spring ball off. Why not just ask the question? Who do you think ends up being QB1 for Alabama for the 26th season?
I think Austin Mack will be QB1, and he will start the season, but I do not necessarily believe he will finish the season. So I think this is a situation where Austin Mack has been in the system longer, and he knows it much better, I think, or at least somewhat better than Keelan Russell. But on the other hand, I think Keelan Russell kind of has that ceiling that, is like Bryce Young type ceiling, like just he has that it factor. So I think that because of Mack's knowledge of the system, he'll probably start. But as Keelan grasps the system, I think he's ultimately going to eclipse Mack, and I think it could happen mid to late season.
Do you think it ends up being a situation where, because sometimes when you name a starter, and I hear exactly what you're saying, because I do believe, when you compare the two, right, both really good players, both really talented, both have a lot of things like about it, each guy. But to me, the floor right now might be a little higher for Austin Mack, given that extra experience. But the ceiling is much higher, in my opinion, for Keelan Russell, and it's undeniable to an extent. But that said, once you name a guy a starter, Adam, typically you don't really see a change unless there's issues. So are you predicting that, Austin Mack is the guy initially, but say maybe they're stalling a little bit offensively, and that's why they make the change? Because you don't think it's just a natural thing, like, hey, we're just going to start Austin Mack until Keelan is fully ready, or how do you see that playing out? You said like mid to late season. Do you think there's like, I don't know, they run into like a patch where they need a spark, or how do you?
Yeah, I kind of see it as a situation that's similar to Jalen Hurts and Tua, where Hurts, of course, he's playing the NFL. He's done a fantastic job. But I think at some point in the season, Austin Mack may falter a bit. And I think if it happens once, twice, 3 times, I think you might see a change, particularly if Keelan Russell is showing out in practice as the better quarterback over time. I think DeBoer's got to be willing to do that if it's going to give the team the best chance to win.
I agree. Just seeing Keelan Russell, man, he's a special. I don't see how you like you just said, if you're running into a situation where you need a spark, I think it probably would be pretty quick to make that change. It's a little bit different with last year. You got Ty, who's an older guy, the oldest guy in the room, waited his turn. Really good player in his own right. Keelan Russell was, a true freshman, still learning and whatnot. This year is probably a little bit different, man. He's got some more time under his belt. That's probably not going to be as tough as a decision as it might have been this past season to make a change like that. Adam, I appreciate you hanging out with us, man, like you do every Thursday, man. Before we let you run, remind everybody how they can keep up with you and get in contact with you for any of those needs that they might have.
Sure. I assist students, graduate students, with applications, resumes, personal statements, exam preparation. I'm also an attorney and I represent individuals and faculty members and students in disciplinary matters, First Amendment matters, and criminal defense. So if you'd like an attorney or an educational consultant at a very reasonable fee, get in touch with me, 201-317-5115, and you can visit my website, which will be up in about 2 weeks, lamparello-law.com. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, always a pleasure, Adam. Our guy, Adam Lamparello, who joins us every Thursday of Lamparello Law. Again, Lamparello-Law, like he said, 2 weeks out from that official launch. Make sure you guys check that out. You can always get in contact with them for any of those needs that you might have in the meantime. Adam, we'll see you next week, man. Big thanks as always.
Have a great day. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide. Good deal. That was our guy, Adam. We'll hit this quick timeout. We come back. We'll put a bow on today's show and keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
It's a crime.
All right. Let's see. You gonna get Clem on? I don't know. I don't know how that would work, man. I can ask, but I think they've kind of cut back on like assistants doing media stuff like that. Now, I'm sure he'll probably speak at practice or something, so you can always do something like that. But in terms of getting him on here, I could ask. I could shoot them a text and see what they say. If he does leave it, if he does leave, it does not say much about his upside or ability to comprehend or learn. Wait, hold on. What did I miss? Keelan said at the Rose Bowl, he's not leaving if Mac wins the job. Take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, no, I think he was just saying, well, number one, at this point, the portal stuff is closed unless he just decided to basically withdraw, and I don't think that would be smart for anybody to do, but no, he seems like a very grounded young man. I don't even think that's what it's about. I don't think it's really about whether somebody's going to leave or not. I just think at the end of the day, I mean, the best man's going to win the job. And in my opinion, I just feel like Keelan Russell just has the higher ceiling out of the two. But it's just more of a deal of, how quickly can you get him there? Like, how quickly can he develop and be that player that and expect him to be? I think that's the biggest question mark. Not to take anything away from Austin Mack, man. I just feel like we've said here, just look at, I don't know. You just look at some of the things you've seen out of Keelan Russell, and there's just something a little bit different about him compared to whether it's Mack or really anybody. He just kind of has that factor. He appears to have that it factor, man. So I don't know. We'll see, man. But this spring will definitely kind of give us a little bit of a sneak peek. And like I said earlier, I think it's going to go all the way to the fall. But I'm excited for the scrimmages, though. I'm excited for the scrimmages. Hold on. Let's see. What is this? I don't know if you guys saw this, but our guy, looks like we got some good news for you guys, man. That's perfect. Let me make sure this is right before I say this, though. Yeah, actually, it sounds good, man. We got some good news for you guys. Jedrick Wills, who sat out last season to fully recover from a knee injury, has been on a tour of visits with NFL teams. Oh, good. So he's back healthy. Yeah, Jed sat out last season, man. Like he was kind of on a tour around the world, man. I saw him visiting a whole bunch of places. Now he's healthy, looking to sign with the team, man. Good for him. There's a lot of teams that could use his services, man. When we come back, I'll play the music underneath. All right, perfect. Appreciate that, Chase. Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like we'll have what, like 2-3 minutes, something like that. Yeah, what time do I need to be out? Let's see. Okay, 2 or 3 minutes, but got a question. If he wanted to, could he, and do you think it would be if they got Scott Cochran back as their conditioning coach? Wait, hold on. Who were we talking about, Jeremy? Did I miss something? Wait, what did I miss? Wait. If he wanted to. Wait, who are you talking about, Jeremy? I'm confused. I know he had his problems, but everybody deserves a chance. Are you saying if they wanted to bring Coach Cochran back? Is that what you're asking? He's head coach over at West Alabama. I know he really enjoys that, man. He's always wanted to coach, and he's head coach right now. So I don't see him coming back to serve as strength and conditioning coach at all. To be honest with you, I don't think that happens in the slightest. But could they do that? You can always make a change. They can do whatever they want technically. I guess you just got to figure it out contractually. But yeah, I don't see that happening in the slightest. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, tied 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Big thanks to our guy, Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. Again, so much more than just representation. Also, if you're a student, whether it's high school, grad student, or even just a young professional, need help with, exam, test taking preparation, career planning, subject matter mastery, all those things, they've got you covered. And of course, for all your criminal defense matters and more, they will take care of you at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. We're real quick. So got a quick, exciting announcement for you guys. Just got word on this. So I told you we were initially scheduled to have Coach DeBoer join the show. Had to push that back a little bit, but they threw us another favor, man. They made things a little right for us here on the Miller's Edge. It looks like we will be joined by current outside linebacker Yanze Pierre tomorrow, a little bit after 11, right when we get on air. So probably around that first segment. So really exciting stuff, man. So we'll be joined by another Edge guy here on the show tomorrow around the start of the show. So if you guys are interested in hearing that, man, make sure you guys are here on time. Again, we kick things off at 11. We'll probably get him on around 11:05 or 11:10, it sounds like. So we'll talk some football with Yanze Pierre tomorrow on this free-for-all Friday edition of the show as we quickly approach spring ball. Big thanks to Chase Behind the Glass, all our listeners across radio, over on the streams, both YouTube, Facebook, and on X now, all over the platforms that we are on. So big thanks to everybody. And again, Yanze Pierre will be joining us, it looks like, tomorrow. To start things off, to kick things off, Yanze Pierre will be on the Miller's Edge. We'll break things down, talk football, talk defense, we'll talk pass rush, all that stuff. I'm fired up. Hopefully you guys are too. Tomorrow right here on the Miller's Edge, tied 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily.
The Tuscaloosa.
Appreciate it, Chase. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I confirmed that before I put that out there. But yeah, it sounds like we're good to go with that. So yeah, make sure you guys are here on time tomorrow, man, because it sounds like it's going to be around probably right when we start the show. So we're just going to jump straight into it. Get Yanze on here. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think Yanze normally talks a whole bunch to the media. So this will be fun, man. We'll try to see if we can get as much out of him as we can, but I think we do a good job with that, man. Dudes feel comfortable when we talk football, so hopefully we can make it fun. He'll be calling in. He won't be on the stream. He'll be calling in. So we'll talk some defense, talk some pass rush stuff, expectations this upcoming season, man. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll do that. So make sure you guys are here, and yeah, we'll roll from there. If you guys haven't, man, hit that like button over on YouTube. If you guys are on X and watching there, cool. But if you don't mind, if you also have a YouTube channel, man, go over to YouTube and subscribe. That always helps us out as well, and we greatly appreciate that here on the Miller's Edge. Hope you guys have a great rest of y'all's day, and we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, kicking things off with Alabama Wolf, Yanze Pierre.